Alright, fellow hunters, time to take a look at the next episode, which is Bedtime Stories. Late at night on a construction site, three men argue about construction materials. Jack, Edwin, and Kyle have differing opinions regarding wood and brick. Kyle wanted to use cinder blocks for a task, but Edwin held up for tinder and they bicker. Kyle hears suspicious growling nearby, but when he investigates, he finds nothing. The men prepare to leave when Jack is attacked by an unseen creature. Emmett rushes to help Jack, but Kyle runs behind a pile of bricks. Terrified, his screams echo around him. When it goes silent, he bursts out to see the corpses of his companions. A low growling alerts him, and he screams as he is attacked. Now that the cult has been restored, Sam argues with Dean that they should use it to kill the Crossroads demon in an effort to release Dean from his deal. Dean is in staunch opposition to the idea, as it may put Sam's life in danger. He deflects the argument by asking Sam for details of the killings, which they suspect a werewolf may be responsible for, that they're on their way to investigate. In Maple Springs, the boys of Kyle, who had survived the attack that killed Jack and Emmett, revealed to be his two brothers. After prompting for Sam and Dean, he describes an ordinary man as the killer, not a werewolf as the boys suspected. He assumes that one of the pair is a sketch artist that he has been told to expect, and Dean drops Sam in it. The interview concludes, Kyle asks to see Sam's sketch, which is a poor stickman-like drawing. Embarrassed, Sam leaves as Dean teases him. The next victim is a woman named Julie Watson, who was attacked when she and her husband Ken get lost in the woods, come upon a small house and are offered pie by a seemingly sweet old lady. The old lady proceeds to drug and attack them, fatally stabbing Ken. Sam and Dean questions Julie. She reports seeing a young girl at the window of the house watching the events play out. Sam and Dean check the old lady's house and find high EMF readings, indicating a spirit of some sort was present. Sam speculates that the cases resemble fairy tales, the three brothers as the three little pigs, and the one her boyfriend as Hansel and Gretel, and that maybe spirits are controlling the people involved in the murders. Dean is skeptical, but when they see a pumpkin and some mice outside a house. Inside, just as in Cinderella, they find a young woman whose stepmother has suddenly chained and beaten her. Dean sees the specter of a young girl, the same girl that Julie saw at the cottage. When he follows her, she disappears, but leaves behind a red apple. Sam connects this to Snow White, whose stepmother poisoned her with the red side of an apple. The boys are trying to find a girl who may have gone missing or been killed in the area, but to no avail. They return to the hospital to check for children there, and a nurse tells them that one of the staff, Dr. Garrison, has a daughter, Callie, who has been in a coma since she was 8. They find him reading fairy tales to a young woman who looks exactly like an older version of the spirit Dean saw. They find out that she swallowed bleach, which led to her condition, and speculate that she was poisoned by her stepmother, and that her spirit has become increasingly enraged, and is acting out fairy tales in an attempt to get attention. Another victim is brought to the hospital. An old woman whose granddaughter, who was wearing a red hoodie, has disappeared. Fearing another attack, Dean takes off to find her, leaving Sam to explain their suspicions to Dr. Garrison. He rejects Sam's assertions at first, but does admit his daughter's spirit has appeared to him. Meanwhile, Dean finds the young girl, but is attacked by the man who has kidnapped her. Dr. Garrison is distraught by Sam's story that his wife may poison his daughter, but when Callie's spirit appears and confirms it, he accepts the truth. At that moment, his daughter dies, and the spirit disappears, now at rest. The man attacking Dean returns to his normal self, confused as to what has happened. As Sam and Dean say farewell to Dr. Garrison, he regrets that he couldn't let Callie go earlier, something Dean suggests that Sam needs to do. That night, Sam sneaks out of the motel room and summons the Crossroads demon. She taunts him, suggesting part of him will be relieved when Dean dies. He threatens her with a colt, but she explains that killing her won't break Dean's deal, as the contract is held by a demon more powerful than her. Sam shoots her anyway, killing the demon and the young woman it was possessing. Oh boy. So now let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. Dean's Crossroad Demon previously appeared in All Hell Breaks Loose Part 2. Crowley is mentioned for the first time in this series, albeit not by name. His on-screen debut in Season 5. He makes his on-screen debut in Season 5 as a recurring character, working alternately as an ally and enemy to the Winchester family for the following seasons. The cult was appeared in the previous episode and is returned to the Winchesters. Ruby was mentioned in this episode. She was last seen in the previous episode. And now on to some trivia. The Crossroad Demon was played by Sandra McCoy, who was Jared Padalecki's girlfriend when the episode first aired. Sam killing the crossroad demon, and thus her vessel, is the third ruthless act he committed since his resurrection. The first being murdering Jake Talley, and the second being killing the demonically possessed Father Gil and Casey. The tale of Hansel and Gretel will be proven true when the Winchesters encounter Hansel and Katja. The surviving victim of the first shown attack by the Big Bad Wolf, Kyle, and his doctor, Dr. Garrison, both share names with characters from Comedy Central South Park. The construction site at the beginning of the episode has an advert that starts Once Upon a Time. This is standard opening for fairy stories and gives a hint as to what the episode is about. When the three brothers are attacked in the opening sequence, the first attack near a stack of pipes, representing the straw house of the first little piggy. The second brother is standing near a wood structure, representing the wind house of the second piggy. And the third brother hides near a stack of cinder blocks, or bricks. Only the third brother survives. And now finally, let's take a look at some errors. During Dean's fight with the man that was the Big Bad Wolf, several animal sounds could be heard. Several of these are big cat sounds, such as a cougar roaring and low growling. When describing the two dead brothers, he says they were DOA on the scene, dead on arrival on the scene. So overall, I think this episode is pretty good, and the use of fairy tales as the kills in this episode was pretty darn good and very original. So yeah. So overall, I give Bedtime Stories 4 Impalas out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in bits. We take a look at the final episode of the day, Red Sky and Morning. So, until then, carry on, my wayward sons and daughters.